Hello, everybody. It is July 1st, 2020. Welcome to the Fifth Avenue podcast presented by the Fifth Avenue Cinema, Oregon's only student-run cinema, coming to you somewhat live from the safety of our homes, socially distanced from our families and such, giving you the latest in all things cinema. My name is Tracy. I'm 35 millimeter projectionist at Fifth Ave, currently the host of the podcast. I defeated Sam in sword battle, and now it's just me. I'm kidding. He graduated. Shout out to Sam if you're hearing this, and all your, good luck to him and all his ventures. Tonight or today, whenever you hear this, whatever time of day it is for you, I want to shout out two people. As of recording this, July 1st is my younger cousin Cameron's birthday. Happy birthday, Cameron. Already told you anyway. And secondly, my second cousin, Chelsea, is at the hospital right now about to give birth to her first child. So shout out to her as well.
Hello, my name is Nayeli. I am currently the podcast editor taking over Matt, RIP, in the events coordinator position.
I'm sorry, are we just killing off everyone that left from Fifth?
That's what happens. When people graduate, they die. I use superior cat girl skills to beat them.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Wow. Who's the bigger cat girl, Nayeli or Matt?
Anyways, shout out to Hatsune Miku because I've been listening to Vocaloid again recently, and that shit slaps.
Remind me why you think you're just weeb adjacent, not just a weeb. Like, just remind me.
Because I'm not that far in deep. Like, I'm not even that far in deep into the Vocaloid subculture. I just like some songs.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the meeting you try to sympathize or group yourself with me as a weeb adjacent, but you have so much knowledge about weeb content, so
because all of my friends are weebs.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense. The math is
I know
mathing.
of it, but that doesn't mean that I know about it in detail.
I don't know what the hell Vocaloid is. I had to Google it right now. So what does that tell you?
I'll send you some songs.
Hello. This is wonderful. It's Maddie, cinema coordinator. I sure hope Mac's not dead, because that would be weird to be dating a dead person. But, like, here we are, one in the battle of who's the bigger trans. I have to give a shout out to Bobby at the PSU Food Pantry today for almost making me cry in the first fucking training of the summer. He wanted to thank y'all for letting us use the space for the food pantry. So, to everyone listening, if you have access to downtown, the PSU Food Pantry is still open. They are still taking every precaution to keep things as accessible as possible. Set up an appointment ahead of time. Go to their Calendly, I can't.
Calendly, I think, yeah.
I'm glad that someone else can speak. I'm like, I can't. There's no L in my vocabulary.
Black-owned app.
Yes.
And following up to Maddie, who was formerly in my position, I am Owen, the current publicity coordinator here at Fifth Ave. I run the social media, so find me in the DMs if you wanna talk to me about anything. And my shout out, I'm gonna shout out a song by Arca and Rosalia called KLK.
Ooh.
It's a banger. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I love Rosalia, but also to everybody listening, Rosalia is not Latina. She's fucking Spanish.
Yes. This is true.
She is a white woman. She just speaks Spanish because she's a colonizer. With bangers.
She's a white woman with a very large forehead and boppers on deck.
Oh my god.
Boppers on deck.
So today we've got the weeb content that nobody asked for, but everybody wanted.
Exactly. We saw it fit to bring in, I would think, in some degree. Granted, one of these movies is kind of heavy, but like some levity into the conversation, and we're gonna give y'all a podcast that is centered around anime. First, we're gonna talk about the film Your Name, directed by Makoto Shinkai, who in my research, I lifted my glasses up when I said that.
It had the little glare across it. You couldn't see.
You know what I'm saying?
Just one eye.
Yeah. I'm like, It's often regaled as the new Miyazaki, which I think is a wild statement. But after watching Your Name, I understand it because that movie was amazing.
I will say that for all the weebs out there that do the whole, like, not to say you're a purist, but like, you're like, no, call it its name. Kimi no Nawa is the Japanese title. I know when I said Your Name to my housemate who had watched the movie, they were like, ooh, what movie? And I explained it, and they're like, you mean Kimi no Nawa? I'm like, sure. I'm gonna bastardize the language, so I didn't want to say it wrong, so I just went with the English title, because I speak English not that well, and that's the only language I speak. So, it's a trip of a movie in the sense of, like, obviously these are spoilers if you haven't seen it, but you're gonna think the main character, like the main female character, Mitsuha?
Yeah.
Mitsuha?
Yeah.
This bitch fucking, like, fake dies a couple times, different, like, storylines going
Spoiler alert.
I know.
Yeah.
I think part of my enjoyment was thinking that she did die, and well, it wasn't enjoyment, but part of my
my enjoyment.
experience.
Yes, she's dead.
No, I was just like, no.
Isn't it that she did die, but it was one of those, like, going back in time or fixing.
She died in the timeline in which, like, the other character Taki is in her body when they're doing the ceremony, and it's like not supposed to be him. Like, there was a lot of cultural context around that, which I got told about because housemate dated a weeb who was very into the movie, and, like, all the, like, red ribbon theory behind it that goes into, like, the fact that all of time and lives are interwoven and we don't get to choose, but like they have the possibility to cross over in different situations. So, like, that whole thing of they switch every day, like every other day, right? And I just want to know the fact that it took them so long. Like, it never said exactly to be like, oh, this isn't a dream, shit's fucky. I'm like, yeah, it is. And every other morning you walk in and your sister's just groping herself, and you're like, it's Tuesday again. Shit.
Well, I have two things to say about that. One, they do say that whenever they wake up back in their normal bodies, they have sort of like memory loss. So maybe like that's why. But also, two, in terms of Mitsuha, it is obvious the days in which she is not herself because she puts her hair in a ponytail. So do you think that her family and friends would be like,
didn't notice that
the hair is in a ponytail, that means she's being weird today?
Or she's being weird when her hair isn't in a ponytail?
She's being weird when it is in a ponytail because that's the guy in her body and he doesn't know how to braid her hair. And she normally, when she's her like actual self, she braids her hair.
Oh, that went over my head.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to say, as someone who formerly had long hair and used to know how to braid it and do shit to it, I did not catch that because I just went hair down, boy, hair up, girl. And, like, that's obviously not, I'm not detail-oriented like Nayeli, I guess. But
I mean, it's crazy how she noticed that, something that a weeb would do.
Oh.
But I don't know.
And in this first podcast of the first 4 Fifth Ave, we out everyone as a weeb. Except for Owen.
Me.
Owen, you, like, did not consume anywhere near as much anime as Nayeli, Tracy, and I did. So, like, what were your thoughts having no background, quote-unquote, in slice of life films such as Kimi no Nawa?
Yeah, well, so this was the second one. I watched this after Akira. I lost my anime virginity to Akira.
That's a good one.
I'm pretty proud of that. But this one, I had this recommended. Shout out Nolan again. I'd mentioned him on a previous podcast. This is one of his favorite movies, and he has a podcast with his friends, and they talked about this. And so I had this on my watch list for a little bit, and then everyone brought it up here, and I was very, very pleased. I didn't know that anime was this grounded. Well, I was going to say this grounded in reality when it's really not at all in some parts of it, but it is for a it's still like a normal story in some aspect. It's not that different from like a dumb, it's not a dumb rom-com, but it's like it's a similar plot line that could happen, like the first third of the movie could happen in like a dumb American rom-com movie. But I really enjoyed it, and I think we were talking about this earlier, but the lighting and the two-dimensional, the field of depth in this movie is crazy how good of a job they did and I didn't know that anime was like that.
Yeah, any Studio Ghibli film, which, like, anyone listening, you're a fucking weeb. You clicked on the title that had weeb in it. Like, you saw it. Studio Ghibli is, like, the master of having you walk into that movie, and then you see all the food, and you're like, I'm fucking starving now. Like, it's so pretty and enticing, and I'm like, that's just an egg. Like, I can make an egg right now. Like, right? Like, what's the secret? Like, am I just... I mean, I was gonna say, am I just white? And that's the answer.
Yes.
Probably right.
100%.
How was moving castle making me want to eat bacon again after being veg for so long?
See, all you gotta do is watch Spirited Away, and you will not want to eat bacon ever again.
Yeah.
When the parents turned into pigs, I was like, ew. But in Your Name, I forgot. I think it's the first scene where so someone clarify this for me before I get into the food part. In the first scene when Mitsuha wakes up, is Taki in her body?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't know that. Because I was just watching it, and I was like, why is she, like, touching her boobs like that? I'm like, but, I mean, it'd be like that sometimes, I'm assuming. So it's like, whatever. You know, it's like, sometimes you're like, yo, I'm in this flesh form. That's crazy.
I will say that, too, when that very first scene when Taki is in her body, and, like, it's that shot of, like, Taki looking down, and the boobs are rendered so well. I'm like, no, not this one too. Like, I was hoping this wasn't gonna be another boob anime.
Me too. I was like, maybe they're just focusing on how like her breathing, because she was breathing mad hard. And
yeah, I mean, I think you would be, like, breathing really hard if you woke up and you just weren't in your body, and you're like, boobs, that's new.
yeah,
The way they cut to the next morning when Mitsuha's back in her body, though, like, that confused me at first, where I was like, so this is a separate day, because bitch already fucked up the other day. Like,
yeah. And even like how she was like interacting, well, her family, that was one like tip off when, like, the sister was like, yo, you're supposed to make breakfast today, what are you doing? You here touching on your titties, what's going on? And then, like, the grandma was like, something wrong with you. That should have been a tip off for me, but I caught it but didn't. And then it was the thing with her friends. Like, I don't know, it seemed like they were cool. And then they said that she was acting weird the other day. So, like, I don't know. It kind of confused me. But the opening part where, like, I think her sister was making the breakfast and she made the eggs with the whatever meat that was, and then, like, the rice. Woo. Woo. And they had a rice cooker like any other person, but it still looked fire. I think after, like, getting acquainted with the idea of them shifting bodies, the movie gets... I mean, it's not like... I wouldn't say that the movie itself is complicated, but I think after you get acquainted with that idea and the process of the shifting, it gets more clearer. It's easier to track.
yeah.
I want to mention two quick things. One, I loved the fact that Mitsuha used emojis, and then Taki would look at his notes, and there's, like, little emojis, and they would, like, dance. I thought that was really fucking cute. That's just a side note. But the thing that I wanted to...
I mean, that's, like...
Just so y'all know.
The line texting app that is used predominantly, like, makes me think of Kick from middle school. But,
Oh
like,
my
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
what it reminded me of. It was Kick.
Well, Line
So,
is
like, yo,
Line is a real thing.
No, I know it's a real
Oh,
thing, but
oh.
I'm saying it has that, like, the feature of, like, little, kind of, like, tiny baby gifs. Like, they're
Ooh,
emojis,
I
but,
love
like,
that. That's cute.
Oh, like emoticons that dance.
I like my blue text bubbles. I love being Steve Jobs' bitch.
Me too. No, okay. That also actually reminded me of this other small thing. I thought it was interesting that they actually included Line, like the actual name, as well as when they went to the cafe, air quotes, which was actually just a coffee vending machine, the ad on the side is like a real coffee manufacturer or whatever. And that's interesting because when they went to... There was another scene, with, like, Pocky. They had Pocky, but that one actually...
That is fake.
Yeah, that was fake Pocky.
Yeah, it had a different name. It
Yeah.
was like with a T or something.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see the things that, like, will blatantly be talked about in advertising in movies in general, because it's like sometimes it's just people change one letter and you're like, it's Coca-Cola. And you're like, yeah, okay, it's fucking Coca-Cola. Like,
except Pizza Hut. That's like a thing in anime where there will be Pizza Huts in the background. But okay, sorry, my last bit. Okay, the main thing that isn't just a cute small thing is we always see them waking up, or we always see Taki waking up in Mitsuha's body, but we don't see Mitsuha waking up in Taki's body that often, and we never see them go to sleep. It's always just them waking up.
well, the couple instances that we do, like, because there are twice that you see them actually go to sleep, and it's both when the timelines are switching, when he's in the cave and sees the comet. I mean, like, granted, that bitch tripped, but, like, he went to sleep after that because he woke up in the cave.
He banged his head on a stalagmite type vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's alive. I'm glad he didn't die in the bad timeline. But, like, I'm thinking of the instances in which you actually see them go to sleep, and both times it's, like, then the whole, like, waking up. Both times it's Taki, I think, and waking up and being like, it's 5 years later, and he's going to a job interview. And it's being like, I always feel like I'm looking for something, don't know what, and then just seeing each other on the train. I'm like, that's all it took. Like, fuck.
I just realized that the movie starts that way.
Yes.
When it ended, I think actually when I was watching it, I was like, hey, I remember that monologue, and because they both say like, I'm always searching for something. And then I think that's when, like...
Did they call British for a second? It's mental illness, love. Like, fuck.
Oh, really?
No,
I didn't feel like that was British.
That's how I heard it. I heard the...
Why are you trying to Anglo-Saxon my voice, Maddie?
I'm white, it's what I do, Tracy. I'm so sorry. It's just...
As you should be. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't notice that, like... I noticed at the end, that's why, like, you know, my, like, brain popped open. I was like, wait a minute. Are we going right back? And that was just like a little snapshot. But also, the only like to Nellie's point, the only time I remember them actually like falling asleep, or like an indication of falling asleep, was when I think it was like the first or second day that Mitsuha was in Taki's body, where she hit it off with his coworker, and she was like typing in his, like, she's like, oh, he has a diary. She's like on his phone and like typing into it, and then she like writes a note on his desk. And then she hits like a yawn, and then it goes like boom, and like it snaps back to, I think, Mitsuha's body or something, or like Taki waking up and being like, yo, I don't use emojis. Fuck is this?
That's a very
pissing him off in the beginning.
I think that the ways that they showed that, it kind of helps the narrative of like, oh, is it a dream?
Yeah, the way it's shown as, like, I don't know if it's intentional, but like the way it's delivered, it gives the viewer the opportunity to try to piece things together as if we're dreaming. You know, it's like we're trying to recollect the things that we've seen and how they correlate to what we're seeing currently. And it's like, wait, but didn't that happen just like this? And then, you know, like the grandma says it herself. She's like, you usually lose what like your dreams are very quickly. Like when you wake up, which was a fire bar from a grandma. They always give that. That was also a very sweet moment when like Taki was in Mitsuha's body and they were walking to the shrine with the grandma, and he tries to pick her up to like walk with her, and then like he almost falls. It was so funny, but I was like, that's so sweet. He means well. And then they're like carrying the grandma. I am a sucker for anime grandmas.
Yes.
R.I.P. Mom's always dead.
Yes.
Yeah, mom is always incredibly beautiful but dead. And like and the kid and whoever is like the main character, that's the kid, always looks exactly like them.
I have to also say that like my final note on this movie is the whole thing of them trying to interact with one another. They write shit on their bodies so the other person will wake up and see it, and they go, let's write each other's names so that we remember when this is over. And Taki, being a little simp, writes I love you, and she goes, this doesn't help me. Just doesn't help me. And as she did it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really sweet moment, because I remember it says I love you, and then just going, this doesn't help me, as she's crying. I'm like, ooh, shit.
I ain't gonna lie, like, logically, dumb move. But
logically, dumbass move. Emotionally,
Fire.
Hit me very hard. On the emotional, like, spectrum thing, Akira is not a movie for an 8-year-old to watch, but the first time I can recall watching Akira, I was 8. Shout out to Delaney Guajardo if you're listening. I don't know why you'd be listening to this in Long Beach, but having a weeboo best friend who goes, the 80s classics, we're watching Akira, and I'm like, all right, sick. And then it's World War III, it's 2019, everyone hates the cops, and they should, but like, I'm like, I'm a child, what is going on? Everyone's murdering, all right, cool, this is a lot.
I'm sorry, an 8-year-old told you this is an 80s classic?
Yes.
And that's insane.
An anime classic, Tracy. You have to understand. It was the appropriation of
I meant like
Japanese culture.
the fact that an 8-year-old was like, "Yo, this is an 80s anime classic. Tap in. All right, we're gonna watch this right now. You need some culture." Like,
Okay,
that's insane.
okay, Tracy, tell me you cannot.
I think an 8-year-old, I was probably like pee.
Okay,
you know, like,
Tracy, can you not picture little 8-year-old Machiavelli Gresham going 80s classic anime? We're watching it right now because they were fucking plugged into the internet day one. That's Delaney. Like,
so was I, but like I was playing a Lilo and Stitch sandwich game. Like, I wasn't watching.
Oh god, I wonder if that game is still live.
It is. It is.
It is, yeah.
I wasn't watching like, you know, the hits, you know, of anime in 1989. Like, I was not. But that's shout out to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. But yes, Akira, a classic, one of my personal favorite movies. And on the topic of like memories, and even going back to what Nayeli was talking about when it came to the corporations / items that are used, Akira also lends itself to a lot of memory based storytelling, or if anything, they rely more on like flashbacks and visions. And that comes into play with the idea of like the telekinesis powers that some of the people have in the film, like Tetsuo, like the very gray kids. I forgot what they're called, but I think the advent of telekinesis calls for that type of like flash forward, flash backwards, flash all across the screen, like what's happening, here's the past type of thing, and it like kind of enhances. Word to PSU, enhances.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Okay, whoever writes the PSU, I'm sorry to roast PSU. No, I'm not. PSU, you write your emails and you found the first adjective and you're like, enhance. We're gonna use that shit everywhere. Like,
Yes, girl, give us nothing.
we're gonna enhance your COVID-19 experience. Okay, I'm like, how? No.
Well, we're gonna enhance your possibility of catching COVID-19. That's what we're gonna do.
God, little update to anyone listening. Fifth Avenue is still going to operate remotely. No matter if the school tries to open itself in fall, we won't be letting y'all kill yourself in our theaters. Like, no getting anybody sick.
It's all good. Just show up to the food pantry, get that food one time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know if y'all noticed, but like I noticed in Akira, there's a lot of commercialization and like products shown throughout. Like it's very like I think I've seen it written about as like an exaggeration of what Tokyo is currently, but like Tokyo after a nuclear war and the rebuilding of it, which is the rebuilding of it is founded on capitalism, and it becomes an over capitalism. Like it's like egregious the way it's you see all this like marketing and everything. Like I think one of the first few shots is when Kaneda and his gang are like riding their like bikes through like Neo Tokyo, and like you see the beautifully drawn, especially for the 80s, the skyscrapers and like the different type of advertisements, the virtual like digital advertisements with I remember the cat that goes like that. Mm-hmm. And then like the big dude that's like I think he's for like a restaurant, you know, like there's a lot of that. And even on Kaneda's bike itself, like there's so many brands that are like stickered on there, like most namely Canon. Yes. And I think Sony, I think too, which is, you know, I'm speaking of it from a place where I'm like, I fucking love that movie. Mm-hmm. Like my desktop background is that movie. But like has been iconic, has been a trickle down effect to a lot of other like avenues of culture with that movie because of those product placements. But yeah, the film isn't just a big commercial. I mean, it's more than that.
If anything, it's kind of an anti-advertisement a lot of the time in the sense of showing how corrupt capitalism gets shit and being like, Neo Tokyo and what's his face? The little man that looks like a rabbit. He's like in the government army, but also helping the group that's trying to like get the kids released. He kills Ryu when like Ryu comes through and is like, they killed our best men, and he's like, you sold me out, and it's like, nah, dude, the children ran away. Also, you're gonna die for money? Like, I felt like that was a very good depiction of everyone who, like, fucking the US buying all the stocks into the coronavirus flu vaccine, and I'm like, we just want the world to burn, huh? Fuck. For money?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, like, I always position Akira in, like, the movies that, like, that are, like, I wouldn't say they're about a revolution per se, but it's about, like, a world that has been driven to, like, the brink of extinction because of the ills of capitalism and imperialism in a way. And, like I kind of see it in conversation with movies like, actually, no, I was going to say Born in Flames by Lizzie Borden, but that's a little bit different. That's more of, like, a revolution led by, like, feminists and, like a world of women who, like, lead a revolution. It's a little different, but I think of, like, the quasi post-apocalyptic type of world that shows what the ills of capitalism can bring a world to, and how, like, it's a trickle-down effect to, like, to the individuals. Like, I know a lot of people always, like, bolster up the idea of, like, the youth in the movie. Like, you know, they're cool, they got bikes or whatever, they don't care about nothing, gang. But at the same time, it's like, I think even their depiction is also seen as like an anti, and like not an anti, like a stance against that. It's like, this is like the extreme of what that could be, and this is what happens when the world turns to shit and these kids are left with nothing. No one cares about these kids anymore. So, like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna get bikes. They're gonna ride them. They're gonna be in gangs. It's how it, you know, like, when you're given nothing, there's not much you can do about it, or not much you can do about it, but there's not much you can do in response to it.
Yeah, I mean, Kaneda, like, fucking, that bike is his everything. Like, no one can touch his bike type shit. So it's sort of really telling to see how much revolves around, like, I can't remember the friend that gets killed by Tetsuo in the bar, but the fact that he, like, rides his bike off to, like, send it off with him. I'm like, the entire time that happened, my housemate who was watching it with me goes, this is very unnecessary. I'm like, it's very ceremonial. It means a lot to them. And she goes, he could have gotten hurt. And I was like, there's so many other times that he could have gotten hurt in this movie. Like,
I just don't understand.
Like, this is probably one of the safer ways to get hurt.
But yeah, I think Akira and Your Name is a very wild double bill. Because it's two very different emotional tolls that it takes on you. Your Name is like, you know, kind of like to what Owen was saying, where it's like, it's kind of like, it's on its basic grounds, it's like a rom-com. Mm-hmm. But it takes a turn in the third act where you're just like you're also waiting for these people to get together, and also for one of them or both of them to stop a literal massacre of a bunch of people via a freaking comet. So, you know, it kind of gets away from being cute and then being like, yo, this is kind of real. And then when Akira is similar, where it's mainly a story about two friends falling out.
Yeah.
And one trying to mend that relationship with a friend that's already too far gone. But of course, with the context, it's like, oh yeah, it's Neo Tokyo. Little gray kids got telekinesis powers. The government held a kid in like a captive thing because he was too powerful. So, you know,
that really threw me off. The little old kids. I feel like there's especially when it comes to, I guess, like 80s and 90s anime, there's a lot of this like futuristic dystopian type stuff, or like mecha body horror kind of stuff. Same with like Neon Genesis Evangelion. I feel like that's, you know, that kind of idea has been done at least a couple of times, but an idea of like little old people, like, that fucked me up for some reason.
I kind of forget a lot of the time, like, not a lot of the time, but there are a lot of moments where you forget that they're fucking kids, like they are children. So when they're like threatening Tetsuo, I mean, because they're trying to stop him from ruining the world, but like they come alive in the form of toys and like use the toys as a shield, and like they're like, ah, blood, I'm scared, and I'm like, oh, y'all are really 12, huh? Like you're actual babies. I mean, they're younger than that, and it's like the aging toll of your body of being a science experiment, but like I don't know, it's always wacky to me how realistic that seems, like something that would happen, like in the sense of that's like a repetitive theme in like movies where it's just like either children that are abandoned or like, you know, you're just like, ooh, I mean, ripe pickings, like that's kind of a fucked up way to say it, but the medical field is not kind to people who do not have power, and children don't have a lot of bodily autonomy when you are unable to form the words to be like, none of this, please.
Well, yeah, like, especially given the fact of the society where it's like, it's in the film where it's like adults in general have turned their back to the youth, and then, but at the same time see the youth as the future. And I think that was like kind of like a bastardized version of the youth being the future, where it's like these youth that have these telekinesis powers, or that we're going to, you know, ordain them with, are the future, but the future that we dictate, which is really screwed up. And I always felt really like, I remember the first time I ever watched Akira, mind y'all, I was probably I think I was in high school, and I found it on YouTube all the way through. I think it was either English dub or like Japanese with English subtitles. I forgot which one I watched because I watched both of them, and I remember feeling so bad for those kids. Like, I've always, like, they were, I wouldn't say they're not grotesque or anything, but they're just kind of just gray and like kind of, you know, kind of goofy looking. But like I've always thought they were adorable, and I always felt really bad when they tried to beat Tetsuo, and he was like beating them up, and I'm like, yo, it's like, but that's like a little girl, bro. She got pigtails, can't you tell? Like, you know, or like the little chubby one that's like the leader. Like, I always thought they were adorable for some reason. Like I talked in length earlier about how like I like for some reason always have emotional like ties with like animated characters compared to like real life ones. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess moving on to my connection to the movie, which is kind of ironic because we had our meeting Monday, and I was scrolling through Twitter before the meeting on my bed, and I was catching up with all of the West Day Ever trending for Kanye. And I was watching the the website video about Nick Knight, who's like one of my favorite artists working now. He's a photographer, but you should probably see his stuff. It doesn't look like photography really, but he designed the website, and the main thing Kanye sent to him when he was designing it was screenshots from Akira, which I guess transitions into our next thing, which is about the Kanye Stronger video and the influence on him, because I've heard about it for years and how much it's impacted him.
Oh, I looked up Nick Knight, and I'm like, ooh, these are some gangly people.
I love it.
Yeah, Nick Knight's a freak. I love him.
Yeah, I definitely recognize some of his work as I look at this, but it's like kind of striking. I don't know, like if I looked at this and you were like, this is who Kanye wants, I'd be like, are you sure? Like, not in a bad way.
Have you ever seen the video to Black Skinhead?
Yes.
By Kanye?
Yeah.
That was by Nick Knight, and it's like he was experimenting with like a 3D rendering of Kanye, but like as like kind of like a video game character in a way, and then like further like, you know, like messing with the body and everything. And like he loves like sharp, like Nick Knight loves like sharpness and like sleek, almost metal like texture.
He does a lot of Bjork stuff too, videos.
Yes.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
Because like I found about him like in high school through like his photography, when I was like really getting into photography. Like he does a lot of fashion photography, and I was like what I was into it for a while. And then he started collabing with Kanye more, and then like it started to like really make sense. And I don't know, did y'all remember, like, I don't know if y'all like came up the same because we're all like different ages, and I'm the grandpa, but when like people started doing like people started like doing like glitch effects on their pictures.
Yes.
Because I love that. Nick Knight made an app called like I think Glitchy or something that like he said that he would use on his own professional stuff, which I think was low key a lie, but it had like the same type of effects, you know, like that weird like that. There's like that weird one where like you can become like a 3D it's like a not a graph, but it's like a bunch of dots. I don't know. It's hard to explain without showing y'all, but yeah, he did some of that. Anyway, similar to Kanye and his very vocal love for anime, specifically Akira, other rappers in the new age have followed suit or have just grew up in a way that a lot of their decisions on visuals or merch is informed by anime. And like when I think about that, I think about like Lil Uzi Vert, Trippie Redd's love for Kingdom Hearts, Juice WRLD, rest in peace. Lupe Fiasco, even who is a contemporary of Kanye, is like a known weeb. Like if you even look up Lupe Fiasco in anime, like for example, if you're so inclined after listening to this podcast, go listen to Kanye's song "Touch the Sky" with Lupe Fiasco. Lupe Fiasco says in the first second bar, I think he says like I'm back like Lupin the Third. And I remember being a kid not knowing what Lupin the Third meant. I thought it was like a play on his name. No, Lupin the Third is an 80s anime movie, I believe. That's big weeb deep cut. This is 2007 when this came out too. That is like, you got to be on some big weeb stuff to just drop that in a verse and let it rock. So and I've always, what was that?
Oh, I think straight to Denzel Curry and Matt and Mac being really excited when it was like Black Metal Terrorist was like getting any kind of talk again, like he might be writing it. So I'm like, this bitch is writing his own manga. Like, I don't know if it goes beyond that as far as weeb. I mean, besides like speaking fluent Japanese and.
Well, he is part of that group of new age rappers that like are like completely like influenced by anime, and you can tell by the visuals. Like even like the project that Denzel Curry made with Kenny Beats. That's that's like it's animated in so many different types of styles, but anime style is in there like at least 3 times. Yeah. And you know, I've always been interested in how this is probably a topic for a broader conversation outside of the podcast, but like how black people or black kids kind of just like we lashed ourselves on anime, and we'd like, I wouldn't say make it our own, that's kind of like a big statement, but like we saw it as another form of like escapism in a way, and have made like and have made the culture like, I don't know, like we made the culture a different like kind of our own in a way, like in the vision of our own. Like I think of myself as like me and my brother watching Dragon Ball Z as kids, or like all these other like kids that I see coming up now who grew up on Naruto, grew up on Bleach, grew up on One Piece and everything, and like how much like anime and like black communities like it's a big thing. I love it personally because, you know, there was once a time when that was frowned upon.
Yeah,
we off that.
I think it's very interesting how anime, since I have been into it till now, how the general population or the general feelings of it in the mainstream, like how it's changed. Mm-hmm. And it has been very interesting to see it also like kind of flourish in the black community, because that's not necessarily something that I've noticed in, I guess, like the Latino community. But another area that I feel like anime has really touched upon is like the electronic community.
I was going to say, I feel like lo-fi hip-hop, specifically within Japan, and having that crossover with a lot of, like, anime artwork and over, like, different pieces of anime, and then having that kind of, like, spread throughout because of, like, YouTube and, like, the general viralness of SoundCloud-type lo-fi, like, that just sort of became a big synonymous, like, you see the cat girl and you're like, yeah, it's the lo-fi remix. So,
I mean, the fixation on like the 80s anime skyline in those mixes, or like a nice 80s anime car driving down the street, and it's it's a slowed reverb version of Bobby Caldwell.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking more of like bit pop or like Anamano Yuchi, who has like multiple songs with Miku, or like vaporwave, which like it is because of vaporwave that we have. Well, vaporwave is one of the pieces that kind of created lo-fi hip hop, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, some deep cuts there, Niall.
I've been thinking about this for a while. Sorry.
I only know a few of those words. I would like to remind everyone that Naomi once said that she was not a weeb, she was weeb adjacent, but I don't know about y'all, that sounded pretty weeby to me.
Smells like weeb in here.
I think it's really funny how often I get away with no one calling me a weeb because I'm quiet about it. And so to then have you roast the shit out of Nayeli, I was like, I'm golden, off scot-free, no weeb card here.
Well, because you started it though. You said earlier in this pod, I think you said, I love how you say you're weeb adjacent, but you know a lot about this. And that started with me. But like, if you want the attention to be shifted on you, just say the word. Because I realized in our meeting about these movies, how many anime in general and anime movies you've seen. It's quite a number, Maddie.
Well, exactly. That's kind of the thing. Like, I feel like I have a good grasp on the community and the culture, but that doesn't mean that I've seen a lot of shit. And that's why I say I'm like weeb adjacent, because there's a lot of shit that I haven't seen. I didn't see Akira until like 2 weeks ago.
That's
I feel like
fair.
the weeb community has progressed past the need to have to watch Akira. It's more about what's popping right now and the kitschy stuff that people like reference.
Okay, but Akira also takes place in 2019 and it's 2020, and I feel like we're not that, like, not actually that level of like atomic bomb, but like we started this year off with the threats of like World War III. So like
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Hey.
I mean, okay, to roast myself, I'm dating someone who named their car after a character from Tokyo Ghoul, so I feel like I have
I'm sorry, what?
Max
They did what now?
Mac's car is named Hinami from Tokyo Ghoul.
Wow. It's just a hatchback car.
Don't tell Mac that. You gotta cut that out.
No, I'm keeping it in.
Nah, keep it in.
No, they talked about naming cars, and they're like, yeah, my old car that got totaled, Tuka, and then my new car, Hanami, and I'm like, those are Japanese names. Is it from an anime? And they're like, yes.
Here I thought I was weird when I had a Cadillac calling it the mothership. When that looks pretty cool now.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I've never owned a car, so I'm like, I have not felt the need to name a car, because
you don't identify with products.
I don't identify with having the money to own a car.
I like my thing more. we can go with that. Thank you for listening to the Fifth Avenue Podcast, where we come together to bring you the latest in movies and all things cinema. If you like the show today, please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Fifth Avenue Cinema. That's fifth with a 5 and a TH, where you can also reach us for questions or comments. You can also reach us by email at film@pdx.edu. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and as much as we enjoyed making it. And as always, catch you next week on the Fifth Avenue Podcast.